So just this afternoon, more than a dozen Republican lawmakers penned a letter to Governor Moore calling for him to remove Secretary Schiraldi. They cite a number of, quote, catastrophic failures in DJS under Schiraldi's leadership. Fox 45's Mackenzie Frost took those concerns directly to Governor Moore. She has his response and a closer look at those policy changes coming to DJS.
These policy changes at the Department of Juvenile Services come after we have been questioning the agency about holding young people accountable in the state of Maryland. And the calls for new leadership at DJS are growing louder. Governor Wes Moore says he wants to ensure that communities are safe, but we questioned him if the secretary needs to go. Policy changes at the Department of Juvenile Services announced less than a week after this video rocked the community. Surveillance showing juveniles attacking a 66-year-old Baltimore man. It's the video taking the state by storm, and you can hear the desperate pleas from a daughter. Dad. Distraught as her father on the ground, motionless. The man unconscious.
You know, they look at it as a game, you know, like let's go hunt down some more old people. Now,
DJS Secretary Vincent Schiraldi announcing kids who are not detained but accused of a violent felony will be placed on electronic monitoring. And those kids already wearing an ankle monitor who go on to commit another violent felony will be detained.
I definitely believe it's a step in the right direction, but we have a long way to go.
Baltimore City State's Attorney Ivan Bates says he's been in communication with Governor Wes Moore and welcomes the policy shift. But he says DJS does not consider robbery a violent crime. And the intake process, when decisions are made at DJS about holding a juvenile or not, is where Bates says he remains frustrated.
We're the lawyers. And DJS, they're not the lawyers. So sometimes they look at things differently than we would look at with our analysis under the law. And that is frustrating.
Bates says when Baltimore police brought the juvenile to the DJS Center in Baltimore, the case was considered a robbery.
In the statement of facts that everybody is supposed to read, it clearly breaks down the facts that would allege that it was a little bit more than a robbery. It talks about a gun and it talks about some of the injuries that the victim received.
When asked if the intake officer reviewed the statement of fact from BPD, DJS spokesperson says they can't comment on individual cases.
My friend, your Governor, Wes Moore.
During a stop in Baltimore, we questioned Governor Wes Moore about the news from DJS. Do you believe that robbery should be considered a violent felony by DJS so that these young people who may be facing these charges fall into the new policy change?
Yeah, we believe we have to continue coordinating and we have to continue working together to make the system work better. We know we have work to do. We have to make sure that people are accountable for their actions, and we plan on working with anybody who wants to be a serious partner in this work.
Not a direct yes or no from the governor about whether robbery should be considered a violent felony. Despite the changes, Maryland Republicans in both the House and the Senate calling on Governor Moore to replace Secretary Schiraldi. I pressed the governor if the secretary should keep his job.
We're all praying for Bernie and praying for his safe recovery. But the thing that we know is we are working together to ensure that we can keep our community safe.
Does that mean Secretary Schiraldi, he still has your support?
We are going to continue working together to make sure our communities are safe.
Thanks, Mackenzie.
Again, not a ringing endorsement from the governor about his own secretary of DJS, an agency that continues to face criticism as questions loom about holding young people accountable in Maryland. As we continue to dig into these new policies and raise questions about accountability, we're still trying to schedule an interview with Secretary Schiraldi himself, but so far the agency has yet to agree. In the newsroom, Mackenzie Frost, Fox 45 News.
I'm Kai Jackson. Thank you for watching. Here's another video to watch. Also, please take a moment to subscribe to our channel.